In other words, creation is about focus. But in your physical format, as you lose your sense of your personal empowerment and your ability to focus and therefore create, your ability to take an idea and hold it consistently long enough that the law of attraction can bring other vibrational matches to it, instead of approaching life in that deliberate, I'll take a thought and I'll build on that thought, and then I'll add to it another thing that pleases me. When you build a house, you have an idea of its design, don't you? You don't choose from a lot of different architectural patterns and try to create a consensus of everything available. You usually choose something and define it, and then you leave a lot out of this house. Jerry and Esther have built what Jerry called an Asian Texas house. It's in Texas, and it has a lot of Texas materials like limestone and so forth. But it's Asian in design. And as they were choosing the materials and the architecture and the furniture, they left way more out of it than they brought to it, because most everything doesn't go with that. But what goes with it really goes with it. So they focused. They didn't say, yeah, bring some of everything over. They didn't go to the furniture store and say, we'll take some of all of this, because most of it didn't fit. Only some of it fit. A very small percentage of it fit. But oh, what fit really fit. And yet, in your physical format, when you go to a buffet, you don't choose some of everything and put it on your plate. You are specific about what you're putting together. When you make a recipe, you don't take every ingredient from your closet or cupboard and try to make it fit into this cake. How much Tabasco sauce in this cake? How much cheese should go into this cake? I'm wondering if I should put scallops or shrimp into this cake. Of course, we're being absurd, but we are making a very strong point with you. When you are constructing your cake or when you are constructing your house, you know that while there is much that you can choose from, you don't choose some of all of it. You construct it with precision. You focus and you bring to it what fits. And when something doesn't fit, you leave it out. You deliberately leave it out. You don't try to make it all fit. And we want you to understand that you are source energy in physical bodies, but source energy who are constructing the cake of your life or the building of your life. In other words, you are constructing it. And in the same way that you want to focus and add, you want to feel as you go along the way the appropriateness of what you're adding. And sometimes what happens in your physical format, it is certainly rampant on your planet today, is that people don't realize that they are choosing with their thoughts. They don't realize that they are constructing their lives through the conversations that they have over the dinner table with friends. They don't realize that in that dinner conversation that is mostly complaining about what's going on about something or other, there is a construction process going on where you are literally bringing the materials to your construction site, and you are in the process of building something that we promise you you're not going to like it when you get it finished. We want you to begin constructing your lives with some deliberate intent. We want you to realize that when you focus upon something, it might just be something that goes past the screen on your television, and as it catches your attention and you give your attention to it for as little as 17 seconds, you begin the construction project. You do. And before you know it, there are people knocking on your door from all over the place, through television, through movies, through magazines, through conversations that you're overhearing as you're standing in line. all kinds of information that now matches that activation is now brought to you. And this is the thing that we really want you to consider. Imagine being the foreman or the architect or the builder on a construction site, and imagine a whole lot of seemingly well-meaning people bringing all of their ideas to the construction site of what you need to put into this building. Before long, you'd put a sign up that says, "Don't call us, we'll call you." Before long, you'd put a sign up that says, "Please, no more unwanted materials delivered to our door." And yet, the same thing is happening when you are giving your attention to things unwanted. It's like putting a sign out to the universe that says, if you've got a lot of this, drop it over here, because it's active in my vibration and therefore I'm calling for it. So as a result, what a lot of our physical friends are doing, instead of deliberately focusing and putting a deliberate call out for the materials, for the building blocks, for the conversations, for the ideas, for the co-creators of your life, instead of putting a deliberate advertisement out by virtue of your deliberate thought and practiced conversation, instead, you're sort of observing all over the place. And in your observation all over the place, you're putting the call out for a lot of stuff you don't want and ultimately you won't use, but in the meanwhile, you've really cluttered up your life. Because now you're busier sorting and sifting and tossing out and throwing out and complaining about how hard life is, where really all you have to do is just call to the job site the stuff that you want to be at the job site in the first place. You get the point. We had a wonderful couple of weeks on board a beautiful ship out in the middle of the ocean, Australia and New Zealand, and the conversation of that workshop gathering very quickly came around to the subject of deconstructing of thought. Now, we think that's interesting because the only reason that so much deconstruction was necessary is because there's so much bogus construction that had already taken place. In other words, you don't have to deconstruct something. You don't have to haul stuff away from the job site if you haven't hauled it there to begin with. But most of you, this is not your first day on the planet. And it's not your first day of conversation or thinking. And it certainly is not your first day of attraction. Tomorrow, however, is going to be pretty much like today, because you have patterns of thought that, even though we are going to brilliantly explain all of this here to you today, and in most cases you're going to brilliantly understand it because we're going to weave a web of understanding here. There's going to be a vibrational connection where you are going to get what we say you already are, but you're not going to change your thought patterns instantaneously. You didn't develop your pattern of thought immediately, and you're not going to change your pattern of thought immediately. And there are many things that you think that you don't want to change anyway. But what we want to draw your attention to, especially as we are beginning here this morning, we want to remind you that you are the creator of your experience, and you do so through the patterns of your thought, by the things that you give your attention to. And when you catch yourself in conversation about things that you clearly know you do not mean to be bringing to the job site, that's a time for you to stop and laugh and say, what am I doing here? I'm setting myself up for the necessity of a bunch of deconstruction of thought, all of which is going to take a lot of time. Why construct something that later I'm only going to want to deconstruct? Why not start today building it the way I want to build it? And what we want you to understand is that you have within you immediate guidance. You have access to it right now that will feed back to you in the form of emotion what things you're bringing to the job site that you want to keep and what things that you aren't, so that you could stop it in the moment if you're sensitive to the way that you feel. And it won't take very many days of deliberately thinking thoughts in the direction of what you're wanting before you begin to tune yourself to a new vibrational frequency. But here's the thing that makes that tricky for you. You mean well, you're trying hard, but this is what makes that a difficult thing. your awareness of what surrounds you in all of its manifested beauty and magnificence and diversity. Your attention to all of those things activates them. So there are two ways that you can look at creating. You can realize that there's a lot to choose from, and there are so many who are vying for your attention to choose. When you turn on the television, if you do, and you are better men and women than we are if you do, because it comes at you so heavily and so fast and with such intensity, all of these things that you activate and bring to your job site, whether you mean to or not. So the point that we're making, not just with television, not with any particular facet of your life experience, but there are two ways of looking at it. You can approach it from there's already a lot of stuff manifested, and I think I will look around at the manifested stuff, the manifested lives, the different relationships, the different methods of parenting, the different kinds of relationships, the different kinds of interpersonal relationships. Should you marry the people that you live with? Should you not marry the people that you live with? Should you spend a lot of time with a lot of different people? Should you spend time just with one person? Should you work if you are a mother? Should you stay at home if you are a mother? In other words, there are so many opinions about should you join the services? Should you fight for your country? Should you fight for another country? Should you let people come across the border and work with you? There are more subjects that are being contested in your environment today, and as you're thinking about all of these things, so here's the point that we're making. As you look at all of this information that you believe you should consider and sort through and form opinions about, that's one way of going about it. Just lay it all out there, sort it all out, separate it into piles, get spokesmen to represent the piles, and then as a people of this planet, make your conclusions about the rightness and wrongness of life by sorting out all of those details. And we say, if we were standing in your physical shoes, our mantra would be, kill me now. Because there's too much to sort, and most of it has very little to do with who you are or where you are or what you want, but it is causing you to bring a lot of unnecessary materials to your job site. It's causing you to think about so many things, and in the process activate so much vibration that without you even knowing it is precluding you, is separating you from, is preventing you from being the vibrational match to the things that you already know that you want. So that's one way of going about life. Look at everything that's out there, sort it all out in terms of what's right or wrong from your point of view, gather together in groups and really debate the issues, especially politically, please, especially politically. Debate those issues and see if you can figure out anything that any of them are saying. And see if you can figure out if any of them mean what they are saying or even believe what they are saying. In other words, it isn't just that there are materials that you could choose from. There are opinions on opinions on opinions on opinions on opinions, and how you ever sort all of that out. So there's that way of going about it. Or, through all that you've been living, you have been putting your rockets of desire into your vortex, and your inner being stands as the culmination of everything that you have synthesized from this life experience and before that you are and that you want. In other words, you can think your way into the creation of your life, or you can tune yourself vibrationally and let the powerful laws of the universe bring to you the precise ingredients that you have selected through a lot of experience over a lot of time to your job site. Can you feel the difference?